Hello students. Go ahead and open up your interactive notebook to the next odd page and copy down the title percent of a number, and I want you to put 10% in parentheses. There are several different ways to calculate the percent of a number, and today we're going to focus on the 10% rule, so using 10% to help us figure out any percent. Before we can talk about finding percent of a number, we need to talk about what exactly a percent is. A percent is a concept. It's not really a number. It's an idea. When you say that 10% of the buttons are blue, what you're really saying is that if there were exactly 100 buttons, then exactly 10 would be blue. So percent is this concept of this perfect world where everything is out of 100. And if there were 100 of something, 10 would be blue. That's what the percent is saying, is that if there were 100, this is how many you would have. Well, we all know that in a real world, there are not 100 of everything, and so we've got to find some way to use this concept in everyday life. You can find the percent of a number using 10%. In order to find 10% of something, you divide by 10. So if you think about that, 10% of 100, that means in a perfect world where there are 100 of something, 10 would be favorable. If I say 10% of the buttons are blue, I mean 10, exactly 10 are blue if there are exactly 100 of something. Well, how do I get from 100 to 10? I divided it by 10. I moved that decimal once to the left. So percent is in the perfect world, but what if there are 70 buttons? Say there are 70 buttons and 10% are blue. Well, I'm going to divide by 10. If there are 70 buttons, 7 of them are blue. 10% of 70 is 7. If there are 150, I move the decimal one time. I divide by 10. 10% of 150 is 15. 600, move the decimal one time. 10% of 600 is 60. 501, 10% of 501. I have to divide by 10 or move the decimal once left. 10% of 501 is 50.1. All you're doing every time to find 10% is moving the decimal once to the left. Now, a lot of students will get confused and they'll say, oh, you just dropped the last number off. Well, on the first 3, that's what it looks like we did. But look at this last one. We didn't just get rid of the 1. We moved the decimal. The reason that it looks like we dropped a number is because anytime you have a decimal and then a 0, you can eliminate that value after the decimal point. So be careful with that. We're not dropping off the last number. We're moving the decimal in once. So it's fantastic that we can find 10%, but how do we apply 10%? Well, once you know 10% of a number, you can find anything. You can find 20%, 30%, 40%, etc., just by multiplying. So if I say 10% of the buttons are blue, what that means is if there are 100 of them, 10 of them are blue. If I say 20% of the buttons are blue, what that means is, well, 10% is 10, so 20%, well, I need two 10%s. I need to multiply that. We're going to talk about that in class. I didn't give you an example because I want you just to think on this and see if you can make that connection in your mind. We're going to really look at some examples in class. But once you have that 10%, you can multiply to get 20%, 30%, 40%, even down to 5%. Let's look at a few more examples of 10% of a number. I want you to try these on your own, and once you're finished, I want you to look and see if you got what I got. 10% of 80 is 8. I moved my decimal once. 10% of 5 is 0.5 or 5/10. I moved my decimal once. 10% of 924 is 92.4. 10% of 72 is 7.2. 10% of 94 is 9.4. And 10% of 100, there's that perfect world. We know that 10% of 100 is, in fact, 10. Thank you for doing your homework. We'll see you in class tomorrow.